This is Keegan Reed, and you're listening to Understanding Sasquatch. Be sure to click that subscribe button and enjoy the show. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Understanding Sasquatch. Today we're going to deviate a little bit. We're going to go to the left and then a little to the right. And we're still in the same channel of information here, but we're going to be talking about reptilians. Because some of the forest people, as Christopher S. Jacobs has mentioned, some of the Yeti especially, or what we call Yeti. I really think generally they're all forest people, but some of them have reptilian DNA, and that's primarily coming from the ones that have 3 toes. And I have the great pleasure, because I reached out to her and she's already become a good friend to me. Her name is Mel, and you can find her YouTube channel, the hybrid reptilian housewife. Is that right, Mel?
Reptilian hybrid housewife.
The reptilian hybrid housewife on YouTube, and also that is the name of her channel on Facebook. And I wanted to, before we jump into things here, I wanted to just address a couple of things. I got sort of a nasty message from somebody that said, this seems like a really narcissistic show. It's the Keegan show. It's about Keegan's experiences. This is like some sort of therapy session for Keegan. You talk about your experiences all the time with all your guests, and then you talk about your perspectives. Well, guys, I got news for you. This is kind of a chronology. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to read the dang post that I made today on Facebook, because I think I summed it up there better than I can extrapolate it here just in my own words again. So I'm just going to read this, then we'll get started. Mel, is that okay with you?
Go right ahead.
Okay. So I wrote, just over a year ago, I started a program called Understanding Sasquatch here on YouTube. I'm very grateful that now we have over 2,000 subscribers. In fact, I think last I looked it was like 2,170 or something, or 77. And we're in June of 2017. Today is the, what is today, the 23rd? Yep, 23rd. And I started this show after I had my first encounter with the forest people in December of 2015. This is a show that delves into the topic of the forest people. It's a rather deep topic, more in depth than I had initially thought it would be. And I want to point out that yes, this show is sort of a chronology of my own journey and my own understanding. And it's essentially a 2-hour conversation between myself and my guest. Sometimes Kat Hansen and Christopher S. Jacobs are able to join me as hosts as well. And I just want to say, this is not the Late Night with David Letterman. This is not the Jimmy Kimmel Show. This is a serious discussion format that we dive into the mysteries that surround these amazing people and other mysteries of the universe that I feel like kind of ties into this. So since the show is free, and since people can take it or leave it, I don't really feel any need to apologize if it seems like this is the Keegan show. We're talking about Keegan's experiences and Keegan's interpretations and my extrapolation of what I've experienced in some sort of self-indulgent self-therapy session that dives into knowledge that's not mainstream. Yes, I talk about my experiences. Yes, I discuss what has happened to me with nearly every guest as it fits into the conversation, because I assume that many of those that I interview don't listen to the program, nor are they aware of my own firsthand experiences that thwarted me into this paradigm-shattering experience. Yes, me. Why is it that way? Because it just is. Because it is a conversation, and you can listen to the conversations or not. I don't mean this in a harsh or derogatory way. I'm just stating things as they are. I'm not trying to win some kind of alternative media award for pleasing the audience. This show is there for those that want to listen, and those that don't want to listen, pardon me for being a little bit blunt here, well then don't fucking listen. It's pretty simple, really. I don't create the format of this show to be mainstream at all. I also never had any intention for having a following after I started the show because I wanted to stay so true to the content that I had to be oblivious to whether people hated me or hated the show or liked the show. I also wanted people to be able to listen in on these conversations and learn information that apparently is not being offered up in any kind of mainstream format. It is free to listen to. It doesn't cost a penny to log into YouTube and listen to every episode there, and now there are over 70 episodes of the show. I remain neutral to criticism in that I am always open to constructive ideas, but those that attack me for what I'm doing, all I can say is they can gleefully go fuck themselves after jumping in a lake, sucking on a rotten egg, and playing in traffic. Because if they want it done differently, then they should do it themselves. I mean, come on. I stole these individuals' time because they listened to this free program that I'm willingly putting myself out in front of the world and making myself completely vulnerable in nearly every sense of the word. I am glad that I started this process. It is a bittersweet process, but maybe that's a sign that it's a healthy effort. If I could just get the words out. Like me, hate me, love me, or indifferent, I'm glad that I started the program called Understanding Sasquatch after the prompting and encouragement of my friend Christopher S. Jacobs. That's all for now on that. So I hope I didn't offend any of you too terribly, but please don't send me criticism on how you think this show needs to be more mainstream. It needs to be more in an interview format. I need to be a better interviewer. Guys, this is not NBC, ABC, CBS. You're listening to a conversation that I'm having. And if that's not something that you're interested in, all you have to do is not listen to the show. So anyway, I got that off my chest. Mel, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I know I kind of sent you a list of things that I thought would be kind of fun to cover in this. I want you to first kind of tell people a little about who you are, why I have you on the show, meaning that you are a hybrid Saurian reptilian. Most people are going to instantly think, oh my God, the devil, or oh my God, this is some kind of shape-shifting reptilian Illuminati draconian. Can you just kind of tell people about what being a hybrid Saurian means? And let's just start right off the bat clearing up the Draco and Saurian thing, so we can just get that off our chest. How about that?
All right, well, we can address the elephant in the room. That's fine. With Alpha Draconians, Saurians, Bootians, Chameleons, Nagini, there's so many different reptilian species. By saying reptilians, you're basically saying all of humanity or all of a certain type of being. It doesn't work that way. You have different cultures, you have different aspects of society that can't be lumped into one group. That would be similar to blaming all of humanity for the Nazis.
Right.
And the biggest thing I get, oh, can you shapeshift for me? No, I can't. I'm a hybrid. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I have certain attributes that you can see for yourself. Yes, I am a hybrid. I am not full human, but I can't turn into Keanu Reeves and run around on a movie set. It doesn't work that way.
Ah, bummer. Well, that's good that people understand that, though, and I'm glad that you cleared that up. And I do think that it's important that people understand that the Alpha Draconians are kind of at the pinnacle of the Illuminati pyramid, and that the Saurians are not. The Saurians are a people like we are a people. So anyway, that was just my little interjection there.
Well, your understanding of the Illuminati is flawed.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, because it's a very complex topic.
Well, as a member of Saurian society, we have the Age of Illumination. We are the illuminated. We carry the torch of knowledge to brighten the people still dwelling in darkness. The Freemasons are a very secretive group who cloister their knowledge and hide it from the public. They themselves, along with others, have demonized, quote unquote, the Illuminati for releasing this information. Almost like how the gods hated, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, for, releasing
Prometheus.
fire into humans,
Prometheus, yep.
There you go.
I have a little bit of knowledge on this topic. I've researched it some, but I really know very little about the Saurians, honestly.
Well, we have always been here. We worked with your most ancient tribes. We're scrawled side by side on your temple walls. In the Egyptian pyramids, you see us depicted with scalpels and other medical technology that is still in use today. Why would we share something so important that could help you if we were malevolent?
Right.
And over eons, fear and dogma pushed us underground. We separated ourselves because we felt like we were no longer wanted or needed. Thus came the hybrid. Someone who can walk in both dark and light to bridge the gap. And that's what we're trying to do today.
Were the original Saurians, were they interdimensional beings?
Dimensions that you don't understand. By using a temporal shift, you can go from different frequencies of existence to another.
Yes. I'm just kind of giving you the floor.
Well, I'm really not the best public speaker, so a little bit of prompting would be great.
Well, let's just kind of look at kind of some of the topics that I presented to you that I thought would be interesting to discuss. So why don't we just start at the top of that list, and let's just go through it. So I think let's see. First on the list, let's talk about. Can you tell me about the history of the human race?
Well, the human race is artificially evolved to be a servant race to these hominid or human-like entities. Also, the Alpha Draconians. You had the mental capacity to learn, to be taught, and most of all, you thrived on a reward system. So whenever you did something good, you got a treat, you got a home, you got territory. So this was the driving force. Oh, if I reward them, they'll do this, that, or the other for me. So with that conditioning, almost similar to Pavlov's dog, they became the servant. So one thing that those ancient peoples did not understand was the fact that when you accelerated that genome, you also created a sense of individuality. You no longer had a hive. You had individuals who wanted to, do better than their neighbor, do better than their parents. And that was a form of chaos that really wasn't anticipated.
So that makes sense to me. Can you tell me what the Saurians believe that the Earth is? What is the cosmology of the Saurians? Do we live in a flat Earth realm with a firmament of some kind? Are there multiple of these, like 10 different ones on a larger planet called Earth, and this has been concealed from us? This is part of what NASA conceals from us?
Well, there's a lot of answers to that question. Some that you may not like to hear, and some that are going to sound absolutely atrocious, and some that's going to be like, well, I already knew that.
Okay.
If you were to be standing on the moon and looking at the Earth, it would look flat to you as a two-dimensional object. Yes, it will rotate, and yes, you can see different continents as it does move. However, your conception of the earth itself is what you are seeing then and there.
So it's kind of based on our spiritual understanding, what we perceive then.
Correct.
Okay. That does make sense to me. Are the Saurians tied in with like the ancient traditions of the Tibetan monks and like the Shambhala and all that stuff?
Oh, Shambhala, yes. There we try to teach you vibrational frequencies on how to open your mind to understand a broader spectrum of knowledge. But some did grasp it, and in those secluded groups, they kept that knowledge and they taught other people. However, because it didn't benefit, Joe Farmer in a way that it would benefit a monk, that translation was lost, that knowledge was lost from that group.
Are the Saurians seraphim angels? Is Lucifer a Saurian or an Alpha Draconian?
Oh, religion. Yay. Okay. This is probably going to irk a lot of individuals, and I can't apologize because this is not my, I'm just giving you what's there. People revere Jesus. He was the Son of God, correct?
That's my belief system and my paradigm, yeah.
Okay. He was born of a human female, correct?
Yes.
Was God himself a human?
Well, I think in that respect, probably Jesus Christ was an avatar of God the Creator, and thus, in my paradigm, Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. So, now I understand that there's a lot more going on with the story with like Mary Magdalene and all of that, that there was a lot of ancient esoteric traditions that were tied to her and her family and her bloodline and all of that, which kind of gets into the Gnostic...
You're putting the cart way before the horse.
Okay.
So the term creator, which in Saurian culture is Io.
Io, okay.
He is not, Saurian. He is not Alpha Draconian. He's not human. He is the all. He is the everything. He took his energy and placed it into Mary. She bore a hybrid offspring.
So was Jesus a shapeshifter?
No.
Okay.
He was a hybrid.
Okay.
We addressed this. Hybrids can't shapeshift.
Okay. Okay. Or some of them can, because like the Draconians, they say that, like the Queen and a lot of celebrities, they've been seen shape-shifting. They use some kind of technology to conceal their appearance, and for some reason, some of them require like blood atonement or blood sacrifice to be able to maintain that particular appearance. Are those not hybrids then? Is that the deal?
Well, Alpha Draconians can shift. They're depicted on the Temple of Samaria. You can see them as either a bearded man with 4 wings or an eagle-headed man wearing a temporal resonance shifter on his wrist.
Ah. So they do carry a piece of technology with them, because I've seen some of them. I just saw a video the other day of a news anchor that had some kind of piece of technology that she was kind of holding between her legs as she was, doing her broadcast or whatever. And they were saying that technology, that was a piece of equipment that was being utilized to help her maintain the human appearance, the human form. And like that one singer, Adele, she accidentally shapeshifted in front of an entire audience, I think, wherever she was performing. And they're
New Zealand.
yeah, and so people kind of went ape shit over that. Pardon my language, and it's kind of funny, ape shit. And then you have like Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber, and probably a bunch of others that I can't even think of who they are off the top of my head, but a lot of politicians. And so there must be a lot of alpha draconians in the upper levels of media, entertainment, and politics. Do the Saurians hold kind of the same levels of position in hierarchy that the draconians do? Are they kind of like in a tug of war between each other, or do they work in tandem with one another?
We do not work at all with the Alpha Draconians. They wish to harm the people of Terra. You just can't reason with someone on that level. Their whole purpose is to withdraw copper from our ground, hydrogen from our water, and DNA to fix their own flawed genetic code.
How are the Saurians depicted on these ancient walls? Like, you mentioned how the Draconians are represented, the Alpha Draconians. How are the Saurians represented?
We do not hold any high seats in your own government. We do, however, pose as advisors. We assist. We are not here to take over. We are only here to offer the best advice that we can give you to make the best outcome for a situation that requires multiple levels of intelligence.
Interesting. Is Vlad Tepesh, also known as Vlad the Impaler, from Transylvania, is he a Saurian or is he an Alpha Draconian?
He's neither.
Oh, okay. What is he?
He was a madman, bent on conquering. He used shock and awe tactics to keep away invading armies. He would impale them down a long path to his castle, saying, "Look, this is what's going to happen if you try to step on my land."
Yeah, he did. So that's interesting. So the legends of vampires, the Strigoi, the Nosferatu, are those related to Draconian mythologies? Because Dracul, or Dracula, is an immediate reference to devils or dragons. Is that somehow connected to the reptilian race for some reason?
In layman's terms, yes. It was understood that, the copper in common blood was a valuable material. This allowed multiple things to happen with multiple levels of technology, medical, political, everything. Copper is second only to water. Ancient peoples believed that if they imbued this blood laden with copper, that they would take in more power. And sadly, that was not the case.
I just learned from a website called sacredsupplements.com about Ormus, O-R-M-U-S, and about copper and silver, like colloidal silver. And also, I think it's like a colloidal copper. Anyway, this is used to heighten psychic abilities. It's used to heighten our psychic awareness. And there was a gentleman by the name of David R. Hudson, who I think was like the groundbreaker of a lot of this information. And he did research on what is called orbitally rearranged monatomic elements. sounds like a big word, orbitally rearranged monatomic elements called ORME, otherwise known as Ormus. It's monatomic gold. And metaphysically, this is used to increase your psychic capabilities and probably to activate your pineal gland, I would presume, which I didn't really even know about this until yesterday. And I plan on getting I'm going to start with the copper one, I think. It's fairly inexpensive. I think it's like less than $20 for a bottle. It lasts you a month or 2 or 3. And I plan on giving that a try and starting to activate my pineal gland a little bit through that process, and just do some detoxing and continue to improve my body. I'm having one of my last cigars that I'm going to have for a while right now as I'm talking with you, so I can really clean my body out and get healthier, and so I can do this work more effectively. But are the Saurians familiar with this use of these elements to enhance their abilities, that we can do the same as humans?
Just as a vitamin supplement, colloidal silver can do so much. You know, it can rebalance your body's chemistry. It can realign, misfiring synapses in your own brain.
Lord knows I could have some help with that. So I'm looking forward to exploring that a little bit. Do you know anything about this lady named Arizona Wilder?
I do not.
She was interviewed by David Icke. Do you have any opinions on David Icke?
He has a very anti, quote-unquote, reptilian agenda to his programs, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And honestly, spitting venom and hatred towards another species brings about zero knowledge.
Right.
So I honestly have not put much energy into studying him.
Yeah. Some people get kind of weirded out by David. I would like to interview him someday at some point. Kat, I think, met him, and she kind of got freaked out by him a little bit when she shook his hand. And she's like, oh man, I don't know if I would interview him, but I'm totally open to interviewing David Icke. I would like to hear his perspective. There was a guy by the name, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was higher up in the Illuminati, and he was talking about the Mormon. Now, I just want to point out, I have friends that are Masons. I have friends that are Mormons. I have friends that are Catholics. I have friends that are tied in with, I have family that are Jehovah's Witnesses. I think I even have some families that are Seventh-day Adventists. And all of these groups, from what I can tell, are tied into, the Illuminati groups, which would include, the Rothschilds, the British, the Bilderbergs, the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300, United Nations, Bohemian Grove, etc., etc. What is your take on this guy that said that reptilians were seen in the basement and the tunnels of the Salt Lake City, Utah Mormon temple, in the basements and the tunnels, and also in the tunnels and basements of the mall across the street that are like 8 foot tall? What the hell are those?
Well, you probably saw pure Saurians. As far as being 8 foot tall, I'm pretty sure that would be getting quote unquote buck fever. You see something that you believe is just incredibly huge and larger than life, and it's not. It was just probably a male of our species.
Okay.
Which is around 6.5.
Why would they be seen in the Mormon temple?
Well, that is a seat of power. Again, we offer advice to those who seek it.
Ah. Okay. I know that the Mormons feel like their priests are endowed with and entitled by God to communicate with ultra-terrestrial beings and beings of different dimensions. They do not feel like, unless you're a priest of the Mormon Now, I just want to point out, I could be wrong on this. I don't think I am, because I've heard this from numerous credible sources, but this is probably not information that they really want the mainstream to know about. But if you take a look at the Mormon temple in Salt Lake City, Utah, they have an upside down pentagram right on, put right into the architecture going into like the front entrance of the Mormon temple. Who is Moroni, and what is Moroni?
Moroni was depicted as an angel that came down to Joseph Smith and bestowed upon him the golden plate. However, Moroni was not a celestial by any means. He passed on knowledge to someone who was seeking knowledge. Now, if I were to go and take my cell phone to a secluded tribe in South America in the middle of the jungle, they would view me the same way.
Yeah. So he gave him the gold plates, he interpreted the gold plates, and thus we have the Mormon doctrine. And so, what is your take on like the Mormon Church, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Seventh-day Adventists? Do you feel any kind of kindred connection to these groups, or do you feel like they're kind of like off-center?
Well, that's the flaw of humanity. You have a book of doctrine, and you follow every single rule in that book. I mean, I could probably tell you right now you're wearing a shirt, some shorts, and I promise you they're not the same material. You probably had shrimp sometime this month. But according to Leviticus, all those are abominations.
Right.
There is truth, and then you have someone saying, oh, well, I will take this slice but not that slice because, I really like bacon. Or, well, I happen to love polyester stews, so I'm not going to eat that slice. I'm going to eat that slice over there. You can't pick and choose.
Do the Saurians have like secret societies like we do? I mean, are you involved with any of these religions or any of these secret societies yourself?
Well, it's not really a secret society. It's more like you come together and it's an open forum where you can share your knowledge with others, take other knowledge in, and complete your own pie.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, are you a Mason? Are you a Mormon? Are you any of these that I mentioned?
No, I'm a humanist. I believe in all.
Okay. Some people would say humanists are Satanists. Is that inaccurate?
Ecumenist.
Huh?
Ecumenist.
E-humanist?
Ecumenist.
Oh, ecumenist. I don't think I've ever heard that term before.
It means encompassing all.
Okay. So you don't belong to any particular group, or you're not a member of the Eastern Star or any of that stuff?
No.
Yeah. So let's talk about like some of this ritual satanic abuse that's taking place out there with people like Arizona Wilder. These children are, they go through like ritual abuse and all this stuff, mind control. Of course, we've all heard about it. What is your take on all of that? And is it such an epidemic as what's being portrayed, like the Catholic Church with pedophilia and all that stuff? Is this seriously an epidemic, and child and human trafficking and all that stuff? Is this a terrible epidemic like what's being portrayed, or is this inaccurate in your opinion?
No, it is quite terrible. Again, when you give someone, unending knowledge, they can use that for a world of good, or they can use that for their own benefit.
So
and
service to self or service to others. Yeah.
Yeah, they're self-serving, so they will take, oh, well, I have this knowledge, and because I have a certain kink, I like to see this before I impart this knowledge. And that's a flaw that needs to be rectified because innocence should not suffer.
So do the Saurians have any, we have Jesus Christ as a human being. We have Jesus Christ as a human avatar of God. Do the Saurians have anything similar where, I think you called him Io. Do the Saurians have a version of Jesus Christ where Io came in Saurian form, to shed wisdom and enlightenment with the Saurian people like we do with Jesus Christ as human beings?
Yes, it's actually the names are different, but the story is the exact same. Tomato.
What is the name?
I said the story is the same, but names are different.
Yeah.
You may call him Prime Creator, God, Yahweh, Yeshua, Jah. It's different dialects.
So let's deviate from talking about Jesus Christ for a second, and there's been other avatars that have came like Babaji, Shri, Mahavatar, Haidakan, Babaji, Haidakan Babaji. Do you know about Babaji?
I do not.
Okay. Do the Saurians have an individual that they have given a name to that would represent an avatar that is God in the flesh among the Saurian people? That's not Jesus Christ? Do they have a different one?
No.
Okay.
We do. Some Saurians do recognize Jesus Christ. Others have different belief systems.
Yeah.
And it is not my position nor my responsibility to judge one belief versus my own.
Right.
It is a free exchange of information. Like, oh, well, we have the same exact story, but we use this name. That's all. Now, there are no fighting or bloodshed due to that fact, because if you say burrito and I say taco, we're still eating Mexican food.
Right. True that.
It's just a broader understanding.
I think you're breaking up a little bit there. Can you still hear me? I can't hear you right now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we had some discussion before this interview, and you had mentioned that, of course, the Saurians, they like to offer information and to help. And you said that they had a facility underneath the White House in Washington, D.C., where they kind of have their own Congress or something of that nature, and where they have assigned individuals to take on leadership roles that interact with government officials of the United States of America, and probably all other governments around the world, I would presume. But can you tell us a little bit about the facilities underneath the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and what they do there?
Well, if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., it's a very busy place. Traffic is a nightmare. Now, imagine a couple thousand hybrids and Saurians also trying to navigate that traffic. It would be absolute gridlock. So we have special meeting places that we can go and speak upon our behalf and our concerns to our elected officials to let them know, this is a good plan, we should move forward with this, or this plan has ulterior motives, you should really shy away from this.
So do they literally participate in our government, or do they kind of have a separate sort of government that is like a sub-government of our government?
I wouldn't say a sub-government. I would more say along the lines of a partnership.
Okay.
Like a United Nations, but a United Species.
Are the Saurians highly active in the United Nations also?
We try to be.
Okay. Well, let's take a step back, because I think we kind of really took the Nestea plunge here, which I kind of wanted to do because I wanted to cover some of these basics right at the beginning. But I'd like to go back to your story. And you had talked to me before we did the show, or this conversation, this interview, and told me that you, now I may have remembered wrong, but you came to the Earth's surface at around the age of 6 years old. Can you tell us a little bit what it was like when you were born, what it was like in the cities that the Saurians inhabit, what that community is like, and then what this transition was like coming to the surface at around 6 years old? And I also wanted to mention, like a couple of other names, like, Amenti is another city. We talked about Shambhala, and any of those other cities that would be like, connected with the, well, what some people call the Hollow Earth, but actually, I don't know that it actually would really be Hollow Earth. But anyway, if you could talk about
it's not completely hollow.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about your story and then touch on Amenti for me?
Well, when I was young, my earliest memories are of sky. Now, that's not the sky we see outside here on the surface. We actually have a hollow projection that simulates the sun, the moon, the stars, the movement of planets, just as you do here. Through hollow technologies, relatively simple.
So,
I remember playing. I remember socializing and grouping together with other young and learning. My mother missed her family, so we returned to the surface.
how is the Saurian society different than the human society?
It's rather open. I mean, there are deviants in every society. Please do keep that in mind. It's not a utopia, as most people are going to believe. It's not. However, it's a responsibility for all illuminated to make sure that the young are safe. Now, I remember being able to go and wander wherever I please.
Go on. Tell me more about the Saurian world.
It's just like cities here on the surface, but ours are limestone based. So you have concrete here. We use readily available materials where we are.
Why limestone? Just
well,
because
at
it's
that depth, that's
yeah.
The most readily available material.
Yeah. So there's no metaphysical reason for it. It's just what's available.
Yes. I mean, there are metaphysics involved in certain things, but not all. That would be like saying electricity is a part of everything that you do.
Well, I think this is kind of interesting. You did mention that the Saurians in some way assisted with the building of the pyramids of Giza. And I'm really interested in your take on the pyramid of Cheops and what was the story, when were these built, what is the story behind them, what information can you share with us about their purpose, who built them, who did you work in tandem with when these were built, were humans enslaved at this time? I'm just kind of curious, like, what is the Saurian interpretation of the pyramids of Giza?
Well, the Saurian interpretation, we worked in tandem. We worked side by side. We were your companions. You can see the exact same design all over the earth in various locations where normally people would not have had communication. There's temples in India that look identical to temples in South America. There's mounds in North America that resemble the mounds in China.
Yeah, I mean, there are megalithic structures all over the globe. And so the Saurians were more or less a part of that globally. Now, were they involved with some of these esoteric societies that we talk about, like Atlantis and Lemuria? Were these actually societies, or were these global civilizations, or what were they, and how are they connected with the Saurian history?
Well, beneath these temples, the reason they are all the same is that we were allowed these monoliths, as you call them. You can travel from one to the other and share knowledge. This was simply done by what your understanding of runes are. By activating a certain sequence, you could input your own destination.
Are there some names for... Okay, so what is the purpose of the Pyramid of Cheops, for instance? What is the exact purpose of the Pyramid of Cheops, in your opinion?
It's a doorway.
It's a gateway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gateway to where? Anywhere?
Yeah.
Who was it built for?
For everyone.
From your history, how long ago was it actually built?
From our history, probably in your time frame would be about 20 to 25,000.
Okay.
You
25.
would probably put them around 5 to 10,000. I said your evolution was artificially sped up, so your time frame is shifted.
In ancient antiquity, are there cities that were on the surface in human history that were primarily Saurian cities?
Yes.
What city?
Shambhala was one.
Oh, okay. Shambhala was one. Okay. Some of the others, perhaps?
The Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Okay. Others?
Yosemite in Mexico.
Okay.
You're just now discovering there in Chihuahua.
Chihuahua. So those are probably the primary ones you would say?
Yep, Mazatlan. There's several.
What are the Strigoi? Do you know what the Strigoi are?
No.
Okay. What does the word Hebrew mean to you?
Tribes of Israel.
Okay. What are some of the names of the original Saurians? When you go back to the very beginning of the Saurian story, the Saurian epic, if you will. What are some of the names for for those reptilian gods that we might have used in our own languages here on the surface?
Oh, you still use them today. In the Ish Arakaz, that's our epic, our story.
Can you repeat that name again and spell it for me?
Oh, you broke up on me.
Can you repeat that name again and spell it for me?
Oh, Ish Arakaz. ISH apostrophe ARAKAZ.
What tradition does that stem from? What culture, what history?
That is our religious epic story, our creation story.
And what civilization did that story stem from on the surface?
Several.
Like the Hindus or the Buddhists or the Tibetans?
All.
Okay. That's interesting to me because I've never, ever heard that name before. Is there a book on that? Or maybe you could send me a link later so I could read the epic, because I would like to read that entire history.
Well, this is something that's mentally transmitted between, elders to young. I'm actually in the process of writing this down so I can share it with you.
Oh, so awesome. So awesome. Well, can you share what of that you can remember off the top of your head right now?
Sure.
Okay.
In the vast expanse, the gods and primordials dwelled together in eternity. Io, the prime creator, swelled with ideas as did the other gods. It was decided to then illuminate the expanse with all the gifts from each of the Eternals. With the help of the elder gods to instruct Io, he brought about beauty and light. Innu inhaled deeply and blew into the expanse, bringing the cosmic winds to carry the newborn treasures throughout. Enki tossed his cloak into the winds and the sky was made. Tahuti placed his eye into the sky, which became the sun and illuminated it all. Io was pleased. He raked his scales across his arms and tossed them into the sky, forming the planets.
Wow.
Heavenly bodies hung there until Ra spun the sun with a wave of his hand, and heavenly bodies swirled about it. Kukulkan brought about the waters with celestial orbs, the steam cooling them and creating the clouds in the sky. Anunnaki twisted himself around each heavenly body, creating the mountains, and he created the trenches with his fangs. All had labored intensely. Ishtish wiped her brow and flung her hand into the void, scattering settled black stars in the night sky. Enki took those stars and arranged them so all the world would know of their deeds forever.
That's awesome. Where do the Saurians hail from?
Earth. Terra.
Oh, okay. So the Cheops Pyramid of Giza, for instance, seems to be focused in on Orion.
Yes, Orion's belt.
Is that connected to the Anunnaki, or is that something else?
Oh, say that again?
Is Orion connected primarily with the Anunnaki and Sirius? Are those
Orion's belt?
Yeah.
Corresponds. We taught your ancient peoples about our story. We gave that epic to them to show them, this is what we believe. This is our history. And to reflect that, they built their temples and monuments in accordance with those constellations.
Among the Saurians, have you heard of that series of books that's written by, I don't know if it's an unknown author or what, but there's like an entire series of books that seem to be out there kind of in the underground about how a Saurian can, or how a reptilian can interact with human society. Have you ran across those books at all? Because I have seen them and looked at them.
Well, I personally have not, but I can verify that is true.
Okay.
I mean, you can watch the president on TV speaking, and he's very eloquent and very well spoken, but by himself, he fumbles his words. This should, clue you in. It's not reading from a prompter. It's not anything of that nature. Be aware of the people around him. Find the person that's focusing in on him. They are a mouthpiece.
As Putin was talking, there was a little reptilian girl, and apparently she had very slit eyes, and it appears that maybe she was the one kind of giving Putin his directive on what to say or whatever. I don't know what you call those individuals, if they have a name, that they are the controllers or whatever, that channel that information.
Not control.
just sort of...
They would just be speakers and advisors.
Okay. I'm just kind of going wherever my mind is leading me, so just bear with me here.
Go ahead.
With the medical symbol, I forget what the name of it is. It's the rod with the dual snakes around it.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it's called. Maybe the necochette or something like that. I forgot what the name of it is. What does that have a connection to the reptilian races, or is that just or what is that?
The caduceus.
Yeah, the caduceus. That's it.
That was our influence on healing. Our healers imparted knowledge to your healers. And that's why the twin snakes are incorporated into that field.
From the Saurian perspective, we talk about Anu, which is Anu Io? Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Is Anu Io? Is that the same representation from like the Anunnaki text, from the Sumerian text? Because we have Enlil and Enki, which you already mentioned.
Yep, but it's not Enlil for us.
Okay, who is
it's
it?
Inu Enlil.
Inu and Enlil?
Inu Enlil.
Oh, okay, so that's one individual?
Yes.
And then who's his brother in your epic?
Enki Enlil.
Oh, okay. Do you consider one to be the bad guy and one to be the good guy, or do you just consider them to be two brothers?
Brothers. Now, our main protagonist would be the primordials. Akkadian would be the main one.
So who are they?
The primordials?
Yeah.
The dwellers of darkness.
Would they be also called the Omega?
No.
Is that something different?
I'm not sure.
So, Akkadian is a term that I am familiar with because they have like the Akkadian green jasper cylinder seals that, you know, of course, talk about the epic of Enki Ea. Now, in the Sumerian epic, or the Anunnaki epic, I don't know what you want to call it, but
Let me give you a background on the primordials.
Okay, please do.
They were a part of the Eternals. You know, they dwelled with the gods, as you understand it. You know, in the eternity.
Okay.
You know, when Io asked the primordials, because each god had given something, he said, "Why have you not given? Why have you nothing to contribute? You know, we have toiled and gave each of ourselves to this creation." And the primordials were jealous of the creation and shunned the light as the greatness of existence. And we have nothing to wish and nothing for you. Release us of your demand and we will not sacrifice ourselves for your creation. Now, Akkadian spoke up. He said, "We will rend this barren as once it was and it will always shall be." It spat venom into the creation. It swirled and choking. It was a miasma. It choked the planets and choked and blotted out the light. You know, it obscured them from view and shrouded it. You know, the cosmic clouds swirled and everything was hidden. And then the Great War had begun. The gods and primordials fell into Terra and smattered its surface. Io's blood soaked the ground and the water. Akkadian's blood fell into the mountains, filling them with minerals, metals, and gas. And those mountains erupted. You know, Akkadian placed his hands upon the legs of Io and rent him in twain. And because he thought he had won, he took back to the sky with the primordials and returned to the expanse, and he darkened the sky. Anunnaki tore his wings from his back, and there rose the Naga to blow away the miasma, choking Terra. And because he tore his wings, he was forever bound to Terra, and he would never ascend again. He laid his hand upon Terra, and he wept. He went insane and dug himself into the ground, ripping his limbs against the earth. And still to this day, chases his own tail and tries to consume himself. And that's what you feel as earthquakes and the ground shifting.
Would that also represent the snake that chases its tail? I forget what its name is.
The mad dog.
Yeah. Now, as far as I'm familiar with everything that you're talking about for the most part, although I'm thinking that the primordials, I might use a different word for them that might be archons, perhaps?
Possibly.
So archons and primordials are probably the same thing, most likely, based upon what you're telling me. And then I was familiar with Abzu and Tiamat also, that seemed to share wisdom from the waters. And they were prime creators also. Are you familiar with Abzu and Tiamat?
Actually, that is a part of the epic. When Io was ripped in twain, he became the twins Bahamut and Tiamat.
Ha ha ha. I see. So Io actually became Abzu and Tiamat.
Yeah.
So he went from an androgynous god to duality, essentially, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
And that's one of our core pillars is existence is duality.
That's awesome. Because that's what, almost every shamanic tradition that I know of, that's almost what every shamanic tradition says. This is we're getting down to the prime story of creation here. And it seems to be consistent across the board, even with the Saurians. So that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awesome. And then,
like I said, we shared our story, and each culture took it upon themselves to mold it to their own. Some knowledge was lost and some knowledge was added. No one is wrong. It's just a different interpretation.
So Enki Ea and Enlil Ea, or Ea Enki and Ea Enlil, were they associated with the Saurians then? Is that the deal?
Yes.
Okay. Where the hell did the Alpha Draconians come from?
They are children of the primordials.
Okay. So they're children of the Archons, which for the listeners, they're probably going to understand that. Yeah.
You get your story from Cain.
Yeah. Cain and Abel. That's exactly right. And so this is just a paragraph in this book written by Scott Allen Roberts. If you don't have this book, I recommend picking it up because it's kind of interesting. I mean, here's a human trying to break down the reptilian history, but it's called The Secret History of the Reptilians, and it's written by Scott Allen Roberts. And this paragraph I'm reading on is page 96, and it says, accordingly, in the ancient tablets amplified to otherworldly proportions and modern mythologies of the Anunnaki found in the works of Zecharia Sitchin and others, how do you feel about Zecharia Sitchin? Was he fairly accurate, or was he way off the mark?
Well, in his interpretation, I'm pretty sure he was close, but it wasn't accurate. Okay.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and that's why I'm going through his material, and that's why it's great for me to have discussions with amazing individuals like you, because you can help me to filter through the information and kind of feel out what is accurate and what's not accurate, and that's the whole point of having this show. But let me continue on. Zecharia Sitchin and others, it is said that Enki Ea led a rebellion against his brother gods of the Anunnaki, becoming the first freedom fighter for the human race. And his base of operations began the Snake Marsh, or Den of Serpents, known as Ea's Den. Which would it be?
And the outer
which would be Eden.
Yes.
Now, the Archons, what is their origin? Why are they so freaking evil? Where do they come from?
Well, the fallen primordials.
Yeah, the fallen primordials. Who are they? Where do they hail from? What is their origin story? Were they created also by Io?
They were all in the expanse together.
Okay.
You cannot have good without bad.
Exactly.
There is a balance.
Exactly, because there always has to be this battle of good and bad, because it is the nature of the universe. It is the nature of our reality in the multiplicity even. Correct?
Yes, and when the Naga took to the skies to blow away the clouds, the primordials chased after them and tried to block out the sky with their own bodies. There were so many that had fallen, they couldn't block out nearly everything. But if you look up into the sky at night, you can still see the blackness. But they cannot cover it all. Now, once Io was ripped in two, and his life force seeped into the ground and the waters of Terra, fishes jumped and grasses grew, and the first offspring of Terra emerged from the saturated soil. When the twins stood up, Bahamut and Tiamat, they were greeted by the elder gods that were surrounding his body. Tiamat was frightened and she fled into the woods, or the wilderness. Bahamut called for the very first prayer heard by the elder gods and thanking Io for all of life. Because their father was not present, the offspring were scattered and wild. Io's passion had fueled their fervor, and they ran in all directions. Some fighting amongst themselves, take refuge in caves, while others took to the skies and the sea. Bahamut tried to call out the offspring, but they didn't listen because they were not his father. Bahamut instructed the elder gods to gather themselves and scatter themselves all over Terra to gather the offspring and instruct them and organize them into groups so that Io's sacrifice would not have been in vain. When Tiamat had run to the end of Terra, a vast ocean was in front of her. She dipped herself into the waters of Absu. She swelled her womb with the life force in there, and she retreated to a cavern where she birthed her husband, Kingu, and siblings, Mamu, Lamu, and Lahamu. Absu was angry with Kingu as he had usurped his position as the life mate of Tiamat. Absu attacked Kingu and his own offspring. Tiamat cried unto Enki to save her children, and Enki came and basically knocked him into a coma. His blood turned the ocean salty, and his body crashed into the waters, creating the waves that we still see today.
Wow.
Abdu's breast still stirs the sea, swelling and retreating with the tide.
Wow.
Tiamat swore fealty unto Enki and waited for him to leave. And underneath Tiamat's tongue lay the tablets of destiny. She was of Io, and she had no intentions of being ruled. And this actually ties into the story of Lilith.
Tell me about Lilith.
Lilith was the first creation of God.
Okay.
Second was Adam.
Okay.
Because she was the first, she had no desire to submit to Adam, to procreate.
Okay.
So she ran into the wilderness.
Right.
And she was with demons and had her own children.
Okay.
That's our Tiamat.
Okay. Is Tiamat also Quetzalcoatl?
No.
Okay. Who is Quetzalcoatl?
Kukulkan. He's the one that brought the waters to the planet.
Okay.
And if you study that, you'll see that, Kukulkan is or has a child, and that would be Quetzalcoatl.
Interesting. Quetzalcoatl was also of a virgin birth, his mother being the goddess Coatlicue, and his twin brother Xoloti, Xoloti.
Axolotl.
Yeah. Now, as far as like the Old Testament and Moses and his serpent staff and the pharaohs, would the Saurians have been more in alignment with Moses, or would they have been more in alignment with the pharaohs?
Well, in both actually, because
Okay.
we all tried to raise each of them up. But again, going back to the issue of abuses in the church that you're having today, power corrupts.
And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Very true.
From your traditions, my research with the ancient archons, the ancient primordial gods, I ran across a couple of names that I don't know if you've got an opportunity, but if you get a chance, look at a book called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy by Gary Wayne. I've also done 2 interviews with him. Check out those interviews. They're pretty interesting. He gets into talking a lot about Azazel and Baal. And also, recently the Catholic Church released the lost book of King Og, who was... King Og would have been what we call a Nephilim, a hybrid of the Anunnaki, most likely, I'm guessing. And he...
What we call the Elohim.
Yeah, the Elohim or the Elohim, perhaps? Okay. And he had a child called the Moon Child. And his wife ended up dying, and she kind of went off in the woods, which is much like the story that you just talked about with Lilith. In fact, maybe his wife was Lilith, now that I'm thinking about it. I forgot what her name was now. But he had a child called the Moon Child. Does your tradition have anything about a moon child in it?
Luna, the daughter of the sky.
What is your story about Luna?
Luna was of noble birth, and she partook of knowledge at a very young age. But desiring leadership of her own, she did some things that should not have been done. And because of that, she was chased out of the kingdom.
Okay. From the Hindu tradition, they have Krishna, they have Shiva, they have Vishnu, who supposedly Jesus Christ is somehow connected to Vishnu. And so is Babaji. If you've never looked up Babaji, make sure you look up Babaji later, because that guy is so fascinating to me. He actually just appeared...
I do know when the Nanda returned,
Yeah.
Hera, they settled in the lands of India, Turkey, Mesopotamia, that entire region, and tried to pass on the knowledge learned from Io.
So the Hebrews learned about these traditions in
Hindus, not Hebrews.
Oh, yeah. But I was just saying the Hebrews actually learned a lot of these traditional stories by being captives in Babylon.
Yes, because knowledge is passed.
From your perspective, who is Solomon?
King Solomon was a very wise man, and his advisors, viziers at the time, I believe they were called, were of Saurian blood. They instructed him to write the rule of law to help organize his people.
So he was of the priest. He was of the priest class of the Saurians, then.
Correct.
Okay. And so he had the Saurian knowledge of how to deal with demons and interdimensionals and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Because that was given to him by Io, right?
Very good.
Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning slowly. And when we get into Hindu mythology, obviously the Hindus have a lot of Naga tradition. And in fact, when we take a look at the Sanskrit and you get into Shiva and the Nagas, there's also another name that comes up in mythology and lore that I'm sure that you're going to be very familiar with. And that name is Medusa.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about Medusa and what role Medusa plays in the reptilian societies?
Oh, we call her Mendin.
Okay.
She was his beloved daughter, and she mourned him desperately for the insanity of her father, Anunnaki, believing that the offspring were the cause of his insanity. She took it upon herself to avenge his death because they did not honor him.
Do the Saurians subscribe primarily to reincarnation as a death and rebirth cycle?
In a layman's terms, it would be more like a level up.
Level up. I can relate with that. I'm a gamer. So Shiva.
So,
who is Shiva to you?
Shiva is the goddess of war. She was also revered as the goddess of chaos, and demanded blood sacrifice. And she was a duality.
And do you have any traditions tied in with Vishnu?
Some, but I would have to
do some research on that.
Share more information with others.
Okay. And what about Krishna?
Same.
Okay.
The children of the elder gods. There's so many.
Right. Well, in the Hindu tradition, they have a festival that's called the Nag Panchami. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I'm not a theologian.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we're working on trying to gain as much knowledge as we can, right? So,
yes.
None of us are going to know all of this story off the top of our heads. None of us. Well, unless you're like truly gifted and able to tap into the Akashic records at any moment, which I am not able to do that. So, and apparently neither are you. So we're on the same level there. But I'll just read this little bit about the Nag Panchami. This is just a brief paragraph. Page 113 of The Secret History of the Reptilians by Scott Allen Roberts. And it reads, an important Hindu festival bearing an ancient association with snake worship is Nag Panchami. And it's held on the 5th day of Shravana, and snake idols are offered gifts of milk and incense. It's said that the gaining of wisdom, wealth, and fame are sought after by offering of milk and incense to the serpent idol, which, interestingly enough, I know enough about, well, I'll finish this last sentence. Once again, the serpent is associated with illumination and getting of knowledge. So that ties back in exactly with what you said, that the reptilian races are really just here to try to share as much knowledge as they can from a neutral perspective for the benefit of everybody, which I can appreciate that. Unfortunately, I wish they wouldn't share it with the bad guys, but, you know, I don't have any say-so in that matter. The bad guys, quote unquote. But with Moses, he had the, I mentioned that staff a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
His staff, I think, was called, oh gosh, what was it called? Starts with an N. Nashut, or something like that. Nashuta. Nashuka. And that, there was a point where the Hebrews kind of like destroyed all of the serpent idols. And there was a big rebellion against all of the snake worship. All of the snake worship, because I don't know why, but there was. And a lot of information that I've studied so far kind of leads me back to the Phoenicians. Are the Phoenicians a reptilian society?
No, but they were heavily influenced.
Now, Thoth, was he reptilian or was he from an avian god background?
Thoth?
Yeah, Thoth.
No, he was reptilian.
Okay.
You remember, reptiles and birds are of the same
Lineage.
line.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, in the Bible, you know, we get back to like some of these scriptures. I think this is kind of interesting because for some reason the Bible just really busts the chops of the snakes. And there's some scriptures that kind of, I'm looking at page 110 and 111 of this book that I mentioned the name of already. I want to read some of these to you, and I'm just going to read them because they're interesting, and I think they pertain to the conversation, obviously. But this is from Isaiah 11:8, and it says, the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. That's Isaiah 11:8. Oop. I think I lost you. Well, let's see if I can get you back. There we go. Howdy.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. The next one is Isaiah 14:29. It says, Rejoice not thou, O Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. And then Isaiah 59:5 reads, They hatch the cockatrice's eggs, and weave the spider's web. He that eateth of their eggs dieth, and that which is crushed breaketh out into a viper. That's Isaiah 59:5. And then Jeremiah 8:17 reads, For behold, I will send serpents, cockatrices among you, which will not be charmed, and they shall bite you, saith the Lord. And then it kind of goes on into the story about Medusa. And but yeah, the Old Testament is very anti-serpent, apparently.
The Mosaic doctrine is very anti-Saurian, reptilian.
Okay.
And, you know, when we tried to incorporate our knowledge and inform them of, you know, our doctrine and say, look, this is our history, and you may add to, but please do not take away. It was felt by them that they wanted their own. And therefore we became the enemy.
Okay. And Amun-Ra. Who is Amun-Ra to you?
Amun-Ra, which is Ra, is one of the prime creator beings. He was one that released his eye into the sky to create the sun. I believe your tribes have revered him as the sun god.
Have you ever heard of an entity by the name of Apophis?
Apophis.
Apophis. Who is Apophis?
Are you there?
Yeah, who is Apophis?
Oh, he was a child of the elder god and went by the name of Apepi.
Oh. He was a pharaoh then, right?
Yes.
I'll be danged. That's pretty cool.
I believe it was in the 1500s.
1500
BC.
Oh, okay, BC, before Christ. Yeah, this little paragraph right here mentions Apophis, and I'll read this to you. It's interesting. It says, representing the oppositional character of the Egyptian serpent was the serpent god of darkness, the winged fire-spewing Apophis. What Wadjet, W-A-D-J-E-T, was to all that was good in ancient Egypt. Apophis was his counterpart, representing the demonic forces, evil gods, and powers of the bleak underworld. Apophis was the serpent of darkness in complete opposition to the sun god Ra, who was the light of the world. But Apophis, albeit, the antithesis of Ra, was never more powerful. He simply counterbalanced the serpent Mihin, which is Mihin, is that the name that used for Medusa? The coiled one?
Yes.
Who was the protector of the sun god Ra, assisting him on his journey through the realm of night to be reborn every morning. And as you find in many cultures and religions, the powers of darkness are thwarted by the power of good. As Satan is to God, so Apophis is to Ra, with minor alterations to the functionality. Does that sound correct to you?
Well, yes, but also Wadjet. Wadjet in ancient Egyptian tongue means green one. Did you know that?
I did not. So why green one? Just because it's the color of a snake?
And she was depicted as a snake-headed woman.
Ah. You mentioned 14 other races that are fairly involved with this realm that we call Earth. And you mentioned that some of these races are malevolent toward humans and Saurians. And some of them are benevolent toward humans and Saurians. Can you kind of break that down for us a little bit? Tell us the names of these 14 races, what they are. I know that's a big request, but if you have that information, I'd love to share that with the listening audience.
Well, going back to the gods, you were talking about a duality. Existence is duality. Everything has to have a counterbalance or it is not recognized, it's just neutral.
Right. So can you kind of list off these 14 races that are involved with what's going on here on Earth?
Sure. You have the Agarians, the Alpha Draconians, Bootians, Setians, Dropas, Elves, let's see, Andromedians, Arcturians, the Bialvanons, you would refer to them as the wood people or forest people.
Oh, cool. What's their name again?
Bialvanons.
Bialvanons. Can you spell that for me, please?
Biavilans.
Can you give me a little bit of information about them? Because I would love to know. I want to let you finish listing off the rest of them if you want to first.
Oh, there's numerous. Well, the Bialvanons, they are a creation or a genetic modification of Alterians, and they directly were involved with Neanderthals and their genome.
Did you say Did you say Arcturians?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They have the gift of foresight. They are also able to shift from one level to the next very, very easily. It's actually natural. They directly involved themselves with the Neanderthal genome.
It's amazing. So, I'm curious, and this is a little bit selfish on my part here, but I'm going to ask the question. I've had a lot of interaction with these forest people. Do you have any feeling on why they have chosen to interact with me at the level that they are?
You're open. You wish knowledge.
And that's why they came to me, more or less.
There you go. If I put out a welcome mat on my front door, you're going to be more apt to come up and knock. If I put a do not trespass sign up, you're not going to.
Well, I want the audience to know that Saurians have this special gift called gleaning that you talked about. And, I'm an open book. I don't have anything to hide from anybody. Would you like to kind of do a little bit of gleaning with me right now? So that people can kind of understand what this true psychic ability, because man, I'm telling you, you are so on target. You did this for me once before, and it was like you were reading me like a book. And I would like to see what you pick up on today. And, as far out as it is, whatever it is, I just want you to just share it openly. Just share it. Just whatever it is.
Well, you went on a walk this morning. It was hot. You were aggravated. Your front porch is a white chair. Don't sit in it. Or get a new chair. Your lawn needs mowed. And your wife, I don't want to release too much personal information because I don't want people to show up on your front door.
Yeah.
But you can verify that.
Yeah, you nailed my address. We definitely covered that. You said exactly what my address is before. I mean, exactly my address.
When you reach out to make contact with someone, you are sending energy signals. You are sending communication. You are sending images. You are sending your voice, vibrations. And someone of my lineage can take that line of communication and dilate it and look back into it and see where it's coming from, who it's coming from, what's going on with that person that's communicating. Mm-hmm. And you found some sticks this morning, didn't you?
What's that?
So you found some sticks this morning.
Oh, every time I go walking, every time. I have no idea what the hell they mean, but I take pictures of them when I see them. I'm guessing that it probably is interacting with me on some kind of subconscious level.
Well, different beings have different abilities. Have you ever wondered why you're not able to catch your elusive Bigfoot?
Well, I know why now, because they're interdimensional beings.
Very good.
They don't interact with this world the same way that we do. And I'm guessing it's probably similar for the full-blooded Saurians.
Correct. We activate on a more mental vibration than a physical.
Do you have some Saurians that are purely astral and not corporeal at all? In other words, they never come into the physical dimension?
That would be when we leave this mortal shell. You become a part of that astral realm, as you're speaking of.
Is that because
Another level of existence.
does that mean you kind of literally become part of the Akashic? Is that what that means?
Yes.
Okay.
And your knowledge is forever.
You become a part of the eternal Akashic collective consciousness.
Yes. You are one and you are all.
If I read to you some names of some of the forest people that kind of I've had come to me, would you be able to tell me anything about any of the names?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any feeling from gleaning about the specific tribe of forest people that are trying to interact with me?
I would have to be there in person.
One of these days we're going to meet in person and you'll be able to tell me, hopefully.
We will go for a walk and we will see ourselves.
Yep.
Even though we have the same gift from the same people.
Right. Do you astral travel?
I can. And you can as well. You can do this through lucid dreaming.
Was Merlin a Saurian?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about John Dee? Was he also a hybrid Saurian?
John B?
Yeah.
Oh, Don B?
No, John Dee. He was the guy that came up with the Enochian language of what he called the angels. He came up with a very complex Enochian sigil language that is used
very
to invoke
script-looking language.
Yeah. With I forgot what his partner's name was, but essentially he did scrying with his partner. He ended up having a really kind of horrible life later on, but he was like the primary sage or wizard and advisor to the Queen of England, which I think at the time was Queen Elizabeth. Was he
Victoria?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Was he a Saurian also?
I would believe he would have been a hybrid origin.
He would have been a hybrid, probably like Merlin.
Yes.
Maybe even a reincarnation of Merlin, perhaps.
No, because it would not be on the same plane.
Oh.
You either step down or step up. There's no returning.
Oh, that's interesting. So in reincarnation, you rarely will reincarnate on the same material plane. Or on the same plane, whatever plane that is, whether it's lower vibrational or higher vibrational, you're either going to go up or you're going to go down. That's why they say, you don't want to go to hell. Really what they're saying is, you don't want to lower your vibration. You want to continually increase your vibration. You want to always be in an ascension mode. What does Kundalini mean to you?
Kundalini. confusion, honestly. I do have knowledge, however, I do not have it all. That is a goal of mine and should be a goal of everyone.
Absolutely, I agree. If you were to direct a layperson that wanted to understand more about the occult knowledge of the Saurians, what books would you direct them to? What ancient esoteric writings would they begin reading to help gain a better understanding of the true history of this world and of humanity and of the true history of the Saurians, other than, what was the name of that book? The Ishi something?
Ish. Are you there?
Yeah, try again. You broke up a little bit there.
Ish Arakaz.
Ish Alakaz?
Arakaz.
Ara. A-R-A?
Mm-hmm.
Ish Arakaz. What other texts would you recommend looking into?
Knowledge is...
I think you broke up again.
Are you there?
Yeah, you broke up again.
Said knowledge is a gift to be shared with the world. Go forward and illuminate those who dwell in darkness.
Okay, so what other texts would you recommend reading, like the Book of Thoth or the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead? Like, what would you recommend reading first that we can get our hands on today?
Well, the Book of the Dead, everything like that is all instructions on how to do things, to transition to the next realm. You know, those aren't, how to live day by day or even the histories. You can look to your ancient tribes and their stories. That knowledge has been there for millennia.
So no.
Go to the temples, read.
Yeah. So really, just about anything. Just go for it.
Yeah. The older, the better. Because there is the true foundation of all.
Have you done much looking into the ancient Puranas and the ancient Vedic texts or any of that stuff?
Not likely.
I want to do that eventually. In fact, I was thinking this morning that I'm going to go try to locate an esoteric Buddhist temple, and I want to also try to locate an ancient Hindu temple. I don't know if there are any in Northwest Arkansas or not, but I'd like to go visit them and see if I can convince maybe some of their more knowledgeable teachers to kind of share with me some of this information and tell them. I don't know if I'm going to tell them right off the bat that I want to learn more about Bigfoot, but I think I might just go in and say, hey, I just want to learn, and just see what they teach me. But I want to see what happens when I go and try to gain some of this information from some of these individuals. They say a teacher will come to you when you're ready, and I think that's why, like, you and I connected, because, I think a lot of teachers have come to me. I think, and I'm very grateful, because I'm definitely on the quest to attain knowledge. But I have no idea what the outcome of that will be, but I want to give that a try. That kind of came to me as I was going on my walk earlier this morning. Just as an experiment.
Well, the important thing is to never stop questing for knowledge.
Yeah.
If you hit a dead end somewhere, don't get discouraged. Keep going. Keep looking. Question everything.
Could I meet local Saurians in my area?
Well, it's not like Tinder. You just can't flip and find one.
It's not like Dragonlance by Tracy Weiss or Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss, the Dragonlance series, where I can go up and just start talking to a bunch of draconians?
No, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
In ancient times, yes, it would have. But today, there's too much fear for it to be safe. And it's the job of the hybrid to illuminate, to make it a more welcoming place.
Who are the gray aliens?
One of the 3 hostile races that we try to convince others not to be involved with. But money talks, and people are greedy by nature.
Yeah.
And you can't keep all the strangers away from the kids giving candy.
Hitler and the Vril and the Nordic races and the whole Hitler esoteric stuff, the occult, behind the scenes SS. Were they involved with the malevolent beings, or were they involved with the benevolent? Was all of that stuff that went down with like the Holocaust, was that somehow, even though it looks like the most dark, ominous, nasty, horrible thing ever, was that somehow intended to be a good thing? It seems really nasty. It seems really awful. But, you know, we don't understand, like, all the ins and outs of everything that goes on behind the scenes with a lot of these. Like 9/11. Well, I think 9/11, in my opinion, was like a big blood sacrifice of some kind. I don't know for whom, but I don't think it was for the good guys. And I think, for instance, like the Holocaust, I think that was another blood atonement kind of a deal. And I also think that what's going on the surface today with like abortions, not that people are not entitled to their own free will with what happens with, you know, whatever, but I try not to get into the politics of all that stuff because I just tried not to. But
well,
is there a lot of blood atonement?
On the surface,
yeah.
I would like to address that. You know, for one, being a female.
Yeah.
Everybody is like, oh, this is my body, this is my choice. That's fine. If you want to get a tattoo or a piercing, that's great. That is your body, that is your choice. However, the body growing inside of you is not.
Right.
Culling of the young is an abomination. I
think so too. That is my feeling. I feel like the extreme liberal agenda is not kind of dark. It's actually really dark. And the extreme,
it's very self-serving.
The extreme conservative agenda has good intention, but it has a lot of ignorance attached to it. So it's like, where the hell is the middle road?
There isn't. Until they can put aside their differences and come together, instead of being two parties, come together as a balance and work together to get the best laws that benefit all, then that is not going to be a possibility.
Can you tell me what races are working with, like Area 51, for instance? I guess they have a lot of different ones now because they have all kinds of underground facilities, and Area 51 is probably old hat. But what races are working with the United States government, and are they malevolent or are they benevolent?
Some are malevolent, some are benevolent. There are the Greys, as famously known at Area 51. However, they are not too well kept. They're more along the lines of a political prisoner.
Okay.
You know, we have a direct influence, a Saurian influence there, and informing them of what's going on. The reason Area 51 is in that area of the country, there are some of the biggest copper mines there.
What are the other races that the United States government's working with?
Antarcticans.
You broke up again.
Oh, races from Antarctica.
No, the races from Antarctica. And who are they? Are they fallen angels? Are they the Nordics, or who is that?
That would be the Nordics.
Are they good guys or bad guys?
They're actually quite decent.
Okay. Have you met them?
Personally, no.
Okay. What is going on with Antarctica? Why did Kerry go down there? Why did the Pope, or was it the Pope that went down there?
I do not know.
Sorry, I got a call coming in. If you hear that, if you hear a beep on your side, it's because my mother happens to be calling me. I'll call her back as soon as we get done. The audience can hear the beeping on my side here. Hi, Mom. I love you, Mom. I'll call you in a little bit, Mom. So why did all these world leaders go to Antarctica all of a sudden?
Simply to meet, discuss things.
What is the lowdown with what's going on with Antarctica right now?
That is that's one of the pinnacle cities for Saurian society is there.
Oh, okay.
Also, there is a lot of frozen history that's there. And things are starting to wake up.
So it's going to be it's probably going to be a pivotal point of interest in the future of humanity, I take it, Antarctica.
Yes.
What about the North? Yeah, go ahead.
They're trying to meet to discuss what would be the best course of action.
Okay.
Is humanity ready for this giant influx of technology and information? Or are they going to descend into chaos? That is the conversation that's going on now.
Is there a black sun?
A black sun?
Yeah, the Nazis actually, they had a black sun symbol. It was the symbol of the Vril. They said it was the source of all esoteric knowledge. Are you familiar with the Vril at all?
I am, but not to an extent where I can actually hold a decent conversation about it.
Okay. Well, I'm not a member of the Thule Society or the Vril either, and I'm also not a Nazi, so I don't know that much about it either. But and I don't know that I really.
Okay, if you focus your learning and energies into acquiring dark knowledge and the malevolent, it's not going to be beneficial for you. I mean, yes, you have to learn all things, but you can't focus all your energy onto the negative.
So if you were to give people
unbalanced too.
If there are people listening right now that are Masons, which there probably are, I'm sure they're probably Mormons, they're probably Jehovah's Witnesses, they're probably Seventh-day Adventists, they're probably all of these groups that are involved with a lot of this Masonic stuff. What would you advise them? Would you advise them not to be a part of that organization? Or since they're learning, whether it's dark or light, would you say go for it?
Well, the use of dark or light is up to the individual. The spider just tries to eat, but to the fly, the spider is evil.
Yeah. So it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
To evil,
and that's why
to evil is good. To good is good. To good, evil is bad. Good is good, bad is bad. If you've ever watched Thumb Wars, it's hilarious, and that's one of the lines from Thumb Wars. Really silly, funny stuff. Well, if you're interested in the Vril, there was a book written by Edward Bulwer-Lytton, I believe was his name. And he wrote a book, this was like a long time ago, he wrote a book called The Coming Race. And essentially, this guy goes into the caverns of the inner earth, or what he calls the inner Earth, kind of like the Jules Verne Journey to the Center of the Earth stuff. And he encountered this kind of Egyptian winged people that utilize this energy called vril, which probably is also chi, which probably also is prana. They knew how to utilize this energy, the chi, the prana, the vril. Vril is actually the name of the energy used by the Nazis. And it is an energy that can be utilized as they understand, like superconductive technology. They understand what is a word for a device that once started. I guess it's just a superconductor. That once the energy is started, it perpetuates itself more or less forever. And they understand.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, they
Dynamo.
They understand this kind of esoteric knowledge, and that's why the Nazis came up with like the Nazi bell, which is essentially another version of the Vimanas, I understand. And they were utilizing this technology during the war, and I think some of the Nordics were appearing as a ball of light called Foo Fighters that were seen by a lot of the the jet pilots and stuff in the war. If you look up Foo Fighters, you can see even pictures and stuff of they call them people that don't want to buy into the deeper parts of this will just say, oh, that's just ball lightning. But it's not just ball lightning, it's plasma intelligence, and it is a mode of travel for consciousness that can interact with the physical dimension. In other words, they can shoot down a rocket if they want to, they can shoot down a plane if they want to, by utilizing energies. And there's just, I guess really to summarize, there's a lot of stuff out there that needs to be talked about, that needs to be further understood. And we're just trying to take this stuff that's been hidden and bring it to the surface. We're just trying to learn. We're just trying to share information. And I really feel like we just barely scratched the surface. So what I'd like to do is to invite you back again, and I'll get with you and we'll coordinate a date and time that'll work for you if that's okay with you, if you're interested in that. And
That'll be fun.
And we can talk more about some things that you think are of significance, if you want to kind of like come up with an itinerary of some things that you would like to discuss specifically. Maybe our next show will be more about some things that you find to be important that you would like to communicate to the listening audience, and give them, a little bit more insight into who you are. And I want to give you this opportunity right now as we close the show to reach out to the audience and tell them again how they can find you, how they can reach out to you, how they can communicate with you. So I want to give you the floor to do that now. We have a good 2-3 minutes left here.
Okay. Well, my name is Mel. I'm on YouTube and Facebook as the Reptilian Hybrid Housewife. I take written word, email, Skype. I would be more than happy to speak with any of you. My email address is reptilianhybridhousewife@gmail.com. You can reach me by regular mail at RHH PO Box 25, Star, North Carolina 27356. I know a lot of questions out there are about Nibiru, what we call Nemesis, and I'll be addressing that in the next episode on Keegan's channel, the Keegan Show.
The selfish, narcissistic show of Keegan. Well,
the God King Keegan TV show.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much, Mel, for coming on the show and sharing this information with me and with everyone. And I wish you all of the best success in sharing knowledge with all of us surface dwellers, and the non-surface dwellers as well, those that are paying attention and that are following along. So if any Saurians are out there that are listening to the show, or any Alpha Draconis, or any of these races that that we've talked about in the show, and you want to give your perspective on the origin story of the Earth and the origins of humanity and what the real lowdown is from your perspective, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to have you on the show. You can come on anonymously, or you can tell people who you are. It doesn't really matter to me. It's up to you. But I want to welcome, if any races out there that even other humans that have knowledge that want to share, please get in touch with me. You can contact me directly on Facebook. My Facebook is actually facebook.com/understanding Sasquatch. You can also find the YouTube channel. If you're listening to the show right now, you already know where it's at, but I'm going to say it. Just look up Understanding Sasquatch on YouTube, and bingo, there you are. There's this YouTube channel. And if you want to write me an email, you can send me an email at understandingSasquatch@yahoo.com. And I want to take one moment to point out that, I put a lot of time into this. If you cannot afford to donate to this channel and to what we're doing, that's fine. I do have a Patreon channel, which I think we have like a whole 4 people that are, patrons of Understanding Sasquatch, but your assistance will help pay for trips to go visit individuals, including Mel. And, golly dang. Let me see if I can get you back on here again. Trying to connect. If any of you are interested in communicating with me, feel free to reach out to me, and I would love to have you on the show and share your story. Trying once again to get Mel back on to say goodbyes. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like I'm able to get her back on right now, so I want to thank you all for listening. Wherever you are in the world, I would like to wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, and good night. For those that donate to the program, thank you. For those that are patrons on Patreon, I love you very much. I thank you for supporting this work, this effort. And I wish you all a good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you for listening to another episode of Understanding Sasquatch.
I'm shifting my attention beyond the simulation. I'm setting my intention at the highest vibration. This is the ascension to the 5th dimension. This is the ascension to the 5th dimension. I'm fading away, I'm letting it go. I'm living a dream, now I'm in the flow, transcending this world, right back to the stars. I'm losing my mind and I'm finding my heart. I'm losing my mind and I'm finding my heart. Divine order, balance restored again. Divine mother, the goddess will rise again. I feel your heart connection. Transition to the age of the feminine. This is the ascension. ascension to the fifth dimension.